Clara had always known the value of love over money. She worked tirelessly at a small cafe in the town, while her boyfriend, Julian, worked as a janitor at a local high-rise building. They had been dating for 2 years, and she admired his gentle nature and how much he cared for her. Julian was quiet and reserved, never boasting about his life. Clara thought he was just a simple man with a humble heart. But everything changed the day she walked into his apartment after work, only to find piles of money scattered across the floor and on the table. "Julian," Clara gasped, staring at the mountain of cash before her. "What is all this?" Julian, who had been sitting on the bed, looked up at her with wide eyes. Slowly, he stood up, taking a deep breath. "Clara, there's something I've been hiding from you, and I owe you the truth," he said, his voice heavy with regret. He sat her down, and with a deep sigh, Julian confessed that he was not the janitor he appeared to be. He was, in fact, the heir to a large family fortune, but he had chosen a modest life away from his family's wealth. The money before her was the savings he had accumulated over the years to start a business of his own, something he had dreamed of for a long time. Clara's heart sank, and her emotions swirled. She was hurt, angry, and confused all at once. "You mean, all this time, you've been lying to me?" she asked, her voice breaking. Julian looked down, his face filled with guilt. "I didn't want to lie to you, Clara, but I had to know if you loved me for who I am and not for what I had. I didn't want you to think I was just another rich guy looking for a pretty girl to show off." Clara stood up, her chest rising and falling with each breath, her anger bubbling over. "I love you, Julian, not your money. And for you to hide something so big from me, it hurts. It really hurts." As Clara walked out of Julian's apartment, tears stung her eyes. How could he have done this to her? How could someone she loved and trusted try to buy her like a loaf of bread? But as she walked through the streets, her emotions began to shift. Hurt turned into understanding. She loved Julian, not for his wealth, but for his kindness and heart. She didn't need his money to feel special. She just wanted him. Determined, Clara returned to his apartment later that evening. Julian was sitting on the bed, looking as if he hadn't moved since she left. "I'm not angry anymore," Clara said softly, sitting beside him. "But I'm not going to take your money, Julian. I'll never do that." Julian turned to her, his eyes full of confusion. "Clara, please, I want you to go to school, to follow your dreams." She shook her head, her heart swelling with emotion. "No, Julian, this is your dream, not mine. I want us to start something together." Clara stood up and looked at him, her decision firm. "Let's leave this house, rent a small room, start a business together. I'll help you with the work, and when we're stable, I'll go to school, step by step." Julian stared at her, his mind racing. He had never met anyone like Clara. She wasn't just beautiful, she was wise, selfless, and driven by a love that money couldn't touch. "You really want that?" he asked, his voice thick with awe. Clara smiled, tears welling in her eyes. "Yes. I want us to have our own peace, even if it's small, a new start together." The following weeks were a blur of hard work, but it felt different. They moved into a small apartment on the outskirts of the city, where they rented a modest space for their business. Julian set up a small cafe, while Clara helped manage the operations. It wasn't easy at first. They barely had enough money to buy ingredients, but they were happy. Every day they worked side by side, pouring love into their business and into each other. Their bond grew stronger, and Clara saw a new side of Julian, one that was vulnerable yet hopeful. It wasn't long before their small cafe became a beloved spot in the neighborhood. One day, while Clara was cleaning the cafe, Julian came in, his face alight with excitement. "Clara," he said, his voice trembling, "I've got something for you." He pulled out a small velvet box and opened it, revealing a sparkling diamond ring. "Will you marry me, Clara?" he asked, his voice full of love and sincerity. Tears filled her eyes as she nodded, overwhelmed with joy. "Yes, Julian, yes." They embraced, knowing that their love had come from a place of truth and unity. Their story wasn't about wealth. It was about building a future together, with trust, hard work, and love. Years passed, and Clara went on to achieve her dream of becoming a doctor, all while Julian's cafe grew into a thriving business. They lived a full life, never needing the luxury they had once thought they desired. One day, Julian surprised Clara with a trip to a quiet, serene estate. As they drove into a grand, gated property, Julian stopped the car. "This is your new home, my queen," he said, handing her a set of keys. Clara gasped, but before she could respond, Julian added, "I also have one more surprise for you." Clara looked at him, confused, until he smiled softly and said, "We're going to have a baby." Clara's heart soared with joy. Their love had come full circle. They had built their lives from scratch, side by side, and now they were about to welcome a new life into their world. "I love you, Julian," she whispered, tears of happiness streaming down her face. "I always have." From a humble beginning to a life filled with love, Clara's journey proved that love isn't about money. It's about trusting in each other, building dreams together, and knowing that no matter what you have, you will always have each other.